Hello, folks. It is that day, February 14th. Love is in the air. Couples, thruples, other poly, and beyond will take time today to focus on how much they cherish the loves in their life. Single folks are either loving life or hating life. Or you're like me and you're somewhere in between all that shit, and all you want to do is talk about fucking Chucky. Oop, sorry, I meant to say Tiffany, everyone's favorite homicidal bridal killer doll, Valentine. And seeing as how it's Valentine's Day, well, her name's in her name's in it, so that's pretty much that. I love coffee. You know how I feel when I drink coffee? I kind of feel like the way Blade feels when he gets real blood. Hello folks, happy Valentine's Day, and yeah, today we're going to be talking about Tiffany Valentine. When I had initially started penning the idea for this video, I was just going to be focusing on just like a few traits that Tiffany character has, but I figured, hey, you know what, it's Valentine's Day, why not just do an entire retrospective, but on a smaller scale. And, well, there's really no place to start better than 1998's Bride of Chucky. Now, this movie, I could literally go on, in fact, I could just do a whole separate video on my thoughts on the movie in general, so we're only going to be focusing on the Tiffany character. And I gotta say, my first impression of her, well, let's just say I was a 16-year-old kid, and yeah. Of course, we're talking about Tiffany Valentine, the human being in this aspect. As a doll, badass. Things she did, badass. Compliments Chucky's character very well, and it was actually cool how she was able to bring out a side of the character that we had never actually seen before in the previous 3 movies. Now, design-wise, I gotta say that I do like her overall design. I like the aesthetic. I like how she gave herself a makeover. And it fit. And it fit with the times. It was actually perfect for the time that this movie came out. However, facial design-wise, structure-wise, I gotta say, usually where it concerns Chucky, I prefer the Kevin Yeager designs. But I actually prefer the Tony Gardner design for Tiffany that we saw in Seed of Chucky and what we would continue to see going forward. One thing I gotta say about the man, his design work is very consistent compared to Kevin Yeager's. But, sorry, still love Kevin Yeager's Chucky overall, especially his Child's Play 2 design. One thing I will say that gets overlooked is just how smart Tiffany is. And to kind of put it in perspective, Chucky is a genius. He's been written and is considered by some to be a genius, strategy work, all this other stuff. Tiffany is, dare I say, even smarter than that. Because when you think about it, it would be the actions going forward from Bride of Chucky where we would see her genius actually shine. For starters, in Seed of Chucky, she laid out a plan to get her soul out of the plastic body and into a human being, just like Chucky had done 4 times prior in 4 prior films, and failed. Yet the one time she actually tries without his help, succeeds, and instead of just picking some random go big or go home, and she went big and straight to Hollywood by taking over the body of Jennifer Tilly, which would later on allow her access, power, money, to hatch a whole bunch of other evil schemes. Hell, it's mostly Chucky's evil schemes, but he'd kind of be SOL without her help in those schemes. It's safe to say that she was the one who resurrected him in Curse of Chucky. We come to find out that she was the one mailing him all over the place to help him get his revenge. Made sure he finally did get himself into a couple of human hosts and escape an insane asylum. After learning how to split himself into multiple dolls, she had the scheme of contacting the mayor of Hackensack, New Jersey to give away 72 good guy dolls to all different homes in America for charity, each doll containing the soul of Charles Lee Ray. Now, while we could say, yeah, this was Chucky's plan, executing wise, I don't think he'd be able to do it without her help. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the extent of his plan was, hey, I want multiple dolls in homes. And naturally, she, having the resources, was like, we can do that. And almost succeeded, but of course our longtime friend and hero, Andy Barclay, put a stop to that. Now, season 2 of Chucky really wasn't exactly my cup of tea, if being honest. I felt it was a little lackluster compared to the first season. However, I am loving the third season so far. But if I did have to pick a highlight from season 2, it was definitely the murder mystery episode that featured entirely pretty much Tiffany and seeing what a day in the life is for her from her perspective. And even here you could see, on the fly, constantly strategizing ways to get away with murder. And let's not forget that from 2004's Seed of Chucky, which a lot of these movies do generally take place in real time, so from 2004 all the way to now, she managed to pretty much fake being a Hollywood actress for nearly 20 years. Now, this isn't to say that Tiffany isn't susceptible to being emotional or to make an irrational decision based on emotional thought. She's definitely a fiery pepper, and boy does she have it bad for Chucky, because no matter how bad he treats her, no matter how bad the shit is that he does to her on occasion, she still finds a way to come around to forgive him and just still continue helping him with his schemes. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if she resurrected him just out of boredom. Currently, she is in jail. She did finally get caught. She's trying to actually actively tell people, hey, I'm not this Jennifer Tilly, and of course nobody believes it. And her plan is to escape. Teasers aside, it's really no shock that she'll succeed. Now, another thing I want to talk about is the overall fan perspective of this character. So I do feel like there's a lot of negative feelings that fall on the shoulders of this character particularly, and I think a lot of that has to do with the horror comedy element that was introduced with the Tiffany Valentine character. Now, of course, tonally, if you're talking about movies, I mean, we've had what are quote-unquote scary Chucky movies since Bride and Seed of Chucky, but we've also had a lot of funny moments, and yes, a lot of those funny moments do tie to the Tiffany Valentine character, and that isn't for some. Now, I'll admit, there are some moments that are a bit cringe, but then there are some moments where it works well. But I feel like that over the years, she's aged like a fine wine. Not just physically. I'm talking also as a character. I mean, to try to see this character now acting serious in a movie where the tone is supposed to be just drama and scare and horror with no fun at all, it just wouldn't work. It would actually be so out of character for her. And over time, that over-the-topness style, it kind of works. It's what we come to expect. And while Chucky can kind of swing one way or the other as far as the serious horror versus the horror comedy element goes, granted, while she is a bit of a one-trick pony leaning towards the horror comedy, I think as long as Chucky's delivering on that scary, it balances out and we end up with some really good dynamic dialogue scenes between the two that just work. And in the end, it's just overall entertaining, and it works. So if Tiffany Valentine was a source of contention for you as a fan, well, I got news for you, pal. This franchise wouldn't be where it was without the inclusion of her character, and I honestly wouldn't want it any other way right now. Well, folks, happy Valentine's Day to you, and happy Valentine's Day to Tiffany Valentine. Chucky really is a lucky fellow. And you know what? He needs to learn to quit while he's ahead.